Heidi's Alpine adventure. Once upon a time, in a village high in the Swiss Alps, there lived a young girl named Heidi. She lived with her kind and loving grandfather, uncle, in a quaint cottage that overlooked a picturesque valley. The two of them led a simple and peaceful life, surrounded by the beauty of nature. Heidi's days were filled with adventure and wonder. She roamed the meadows, chasing butterflies and singing to the birds. Her heart was as pure as the crystal-clear streams that flowed down the mountainside. Every morning, she would wake up to the breathtaking view of the mountains, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world. One sunny morning, as Heidi and her grandfather enjoyed their breakfast of freshly baked bread and goat's milk, a letter arrived from Frankfurt. The letter was from Heidi's aunt, Diet, who had been living in the city. She had come to a decision that would change Heidi's life forever. Diet explained that she had found a job in Frankfurt and decided to take Heidi to the city to live with her new employer, a wealthy family called the Sessmans. Heidi was initially excited about the prospect of visiting the city and experiencing new things. However, her grandfather was concerned. He knew that the city was a very different place from their peaceful mountain home, and he feared that Heidi might lose her pure and joyful spirit amid the hustle and bustle of city life. Despite his reservations, he agreed to let Heidi go, believing it was in her best interest. The day of departure arrived, and Heidi and her aunt set off on a long and arduous journey to Frankfurt. As they traveled farther from the mountains, Heidi's heart grew heavy. She missed her grandfather and the serenity of the Alps. The noisy city with its towering buildings and busy streets overwhelmed her. Upon their arrival in Frankfurt, Heidi was introduced to the Sessman household. She met Clara Sessman, a kind and wheelchair-bound girl who was about her age. Clara's grandmother, Mrs. Sessman, was the head of the household, and she welcomed Heidi with open arms. However, Heidi felt out of place and longed for the familiar sights and sounds of her mountain home. Clara and Heidi soon became fast friends. Clara introduced Heidi to her tutor, Miss Rottenmeier, who was strict and demanding but eventually came to appreciate Heidi's pure-hearted nature. Despite the luxurious surroundings and the kindness of the Sessman family, Heidi couldn't shake her homesickness. She missed the open meadows, the goats, and most of all, her beloved grandfather. One winter evening, as Heidi gazed out of her bedroom window at the snow-covered city, she knew she had to find her way back to the Alps. She missed her grandfather too much to stay any longer. Clara, Mrs. Sessman, and even Miss Rottenmeier understood Heidi's longing and helped her make the journey back to the mountains. Heidi's return to the Alps was a joyous reunion with her grandfather. She was once again surrounded by the beauty and tranquility of the mountains. Clara, who had come to love Heidi like a sister, often visited, and the two friends enjoyed the best of both worlds. Heidi's time in the city had taught her many valuable lessons, but she knew that her heart truly belonged to the mountains. And so, she lived out her days in the embrace of the Swiss Alps, sharing her love of nature and her joyful spirit with all who crossed her path. The story of Heidi, the girl from the mountains, became a legend in the valley, a reminder of the enduring power of innocence and the beauty of home.